as well as what do we see pertaining to the recovery of the plant staff. The remaining roughly 25,000 gallons is contained in the tank, is leaking slowly out of the tank, slower this morning than it was yesterday evening, and that has reduced our concern of the leak of or the quantity of that tank. We believe, and our information provides us, that the amount of material in the tank remains on the opposite side of the tank from where the leak is. So that is what gives us a factor of safety, that we were able to operate today with folks in appropriate chemical protective equipment in that area. We did have folks from the fire and rescue hazmat as well as the National Guard folks in that area making continued assessment. We have identified that we will be seeking some additional capabilities to assist us in the recovery and a couple additional steps to ensure the safety of our folks. We will be working that as soon as we're leaving this press conference and continuing forward. I have the assurance, and I am very confident in the support provided to us from the state as well as our federal partners. If we need something, we will get it to have the resources here. Thank you. I'm going to go behind you.
Thank you. Julia Lopez with Fox 12. Going off of that, will the Chemical Safety and Hazard Board investigation impact cleanup and recovery efforts at all?
So the question is, will the Chemical Safety Board's actions impact the cleanup and recovery operations? I want to break that down into recovery. No. The recovery operations are primary. The Chemical Safety Board's needs will be identified, and this is the planning posture that we took yesterday afternoon. The recovery will proceed as all steps needed to engage that recovery. Then the cleanup and site recovery, because again, we're breaking recovery into our victims and the staff here, as well as then the site recovery. Then the site recovery will begin, and that will be coordinated by our environmental agencies with the Chemical Safety Board's contact.
Brandon, Cairo 7. L&I posted about 2 inspections related to complaints yesterday. Are there any other inspections that you are aware of? What kind of records are you all looking into with that?
So I don't believe there's anybody. You're here? Would you like to?
Sure.
Joel Sachs, last name's S-A-C-K-S. I'm the director of the Department of Labor and Industries. And first, on behalf of everyone in the agency, we want to express our condolences to everyone who lost someone in the tragedy. There are a number of open inspections. I can't speak to them today. They will all, once they are concluded, we will be able to release the information. We will also be conducting an investigation on the incident that occurred on Tuesday.
Corwin Hake, Cairo News Radio, and Chief, I want to just plainly ask something that may have been answered in various ways already, but we've heard that this was a tank that contained or had a capacity of 900,000 gallons, and that now there are about 25,000 gallons left. What bluntly has happened to the other 875,000 gallons that may have been in that tank?
So, great question, and I appreciate it, because yes, we've talked about it in different pieces, but I'll try to bring that all back together in one point. 900,000 gallon capacity. It was believed to be roughly 60% full at the time, so I'm going to say 600,000 gallons. When I stood here last evening and told you that there was roughly 90,000 gallons remaining, that was based upon our visual assessment on pictures that were taken at roughly 11 a.m. and the amount of sidewall of the tank that was still visible, presuming the sidewall of the tank, roughly 10% of that tank, was still standing, thus 90,000 gallons, okay? Indeed, that talks about 500,000 gallons of product. And yes, we have utilized the figure that roughly 500,000 gallons of product left that tank from the time of the incident beginning till yesterday afternoon, when we thought 90,000 gallons remained, okay? Now, today, last night and this morning, we're doing our assessment, looking at that leak, and we identified now roughly, conservatively, 25,000 gallons. So you would articulate and be fair to say that roughly 550,000, 570,000 gallons of product left the tank. The specifics of that will come as the root cause and the root factors are determined in the future. But that's how we did our math, and that's how we did our risk calculations based upon what we knew, what was known, and what we saw. Is that helpful, sir?
But based on
Where
that,
is
you're
that
confident
product?
that there remains no risk to the community from the spill?
The product that is left has been engaged on the facility, as well as the components that we talked about with high pH levels in the components of the dikes across the street. Air monitoring has been established, and there is no air or community-based risk. And I said earlier, there is no risk to the Longview City water supply. Okay? Thank you very much.
Genevieve Armack, YouTube News. Can you clarify what parts of the Columbia River people should stay away from? I know you listed industrial and several streets like that. And also, how did people go missing, and what are emergency responders doing to keep themselves safe and to also recover those people?
Okay. Question was areas of the Columbia River. Question was how did people go missing, and what are emergency responders doing to keep themselves safe? The component of the Columbia River is one that the Coast Guard has been here from the beginning with us, as well as our ecology and environmental protection team. They are working those informations, but they have not provided anything to the Unified Command about concerns in the Columbia to avoid and areas to stay away. Okay?
So people should avoid it generally.
I don't have that information to share with you, ma'am. I don't. I would tell you if I did.
The areas that they're speaking of to stay away from currently now are to the north in the industrial way from Washington Way to Prudential. Those are the parameters that we set to stay away from those.
And those are the dikes,
And
the
that's-
ditches, as
that's
part of the diking district number 5, where signage was put up. Now you asked, part 2 was related to how are responders keeping, I'm sorry, part 2 was about how did the people go missing. This was roughly 7:15 in the morning. This was a shift change time. Shift change occurs at 7 a.m. So there were people in this area. This was an administrative workspace. This was a break room space. There were operational spaces. So I would not say how they went missing. They were operating and they were in their workspaces when this blast occurred. Okay? We had both 9 people injured and transported from the property, as well as the 9 unaccounted for. And then last question to your point, how do the responders keep themselves safe? I've outlined that it's chemical protective equipment, the right safety gear. We have what we need. We do not have a need, or we do not have a lack of equipment for that perspective. I want to be clear with that. And then additionally, we talk about air monitoring, water monitoring, liquid sampling of our folks and what we're engaged with on site, and the emotional and the behavioral health of our staff. That is a full spectrum that we're supporting from there.
Brian Wood could speak on the Columbia River.
Okay. Mr. Bryan, would you like to expand a question?
Yeah, if I could. My name is Brian Wood, B-R-I-A-N-W-O-O-D, Director of Support Services for Nippon Dynawave Packaging. Our records show that our continuous monitoring for pH on our outfalls that go to the Columbia River showed spikes of high pH material at roughly the initial incident at 7:15 in the morning, and then approximately 2 or 3 hours later, there were 2 spikes of high pH material that went from our plant site to the Columbia River. That information was reported to Ecology as required by our permit. You've also heard discussions about the material that transited our site via the storm drains, went to our north ditch along 432, and then from there went over to the Consolidated Diking Improvement District ditch. We are working with the Diking District, and we are working with Ecology and EPA to address the issue over there, which will be a matter likely of elementary neutralization. Heard a question earlier about fish. The report we have is that some of the carp that reside in that ditch were affected by that high pH material.
Thank you, Brian.
If I may, on behalf of NDP, and not to horn in on you,
No,
Chief, I
perfect.
appreciate you
Please, I know
being
this is
here.
important.
On behalf of NDP, these are our people. We are focused on our people. We are focused on helping our responders find and recover those people. That is our focus today. We are profoundly grateful for the people behind me, for the responders and what they've done with us and for us. And we are profoundly grateful for the assistance and the cooperation of the Association of Western Pulp and Paper Workers. They have been outstanding in their support to their members and their support to us. Finally, we will cooperate to the maximum extent that we can with the investigation. It is our duty and our obligation to do so. We look forward to a full and complete investigation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brian, for that information. Indeed, we want to get the questions. I'm going to continue around. My goal is to be able to accomplish this in 10 more minutes. So, go ahead, sir.
Right, with K2, can either of you just detail the recovery effort as best you can, and perhaps a timeline for the families and the community of when they should expect the recovery effort for the victims?
So the question is, detail the recovery efforts as best as we can and provide a timeline to that. I'm going to outline that this was a blast. We've used the word explosion, we've used the word implosion, I've also used the word failure. Indeed, there was a rupture, a failure, a blast. All of those to us mean the same. It's not why it happened, it's the damage that we observed, okay? Vehicles are damaged, buildings are damaged, mechanical equipment is damaged, collapsed, and failed. So that is what we see in the environmental area there, part of which was one of the pictures we released yesterday afternoon. As we go through that, we have structural concerns. We talked about those yesterday, that those were identified, addressed, and have been limited or mitigated. We still have the concerns of the workers and where they're at, how we can access that. The other component is, and I outlined earlier, waist deep to chest deep water. Our teams this morning have observed that water being lower today than it was when they were in there yesterday. And we do have plans, and we will engage plans at the appropriate time to continue to pump that water out so that we have access to all of those areas. Otherwise, I can't provide you a timeline. Chief Amos was out there running the operations today in what we called the courtyard group, and our focus is to receive all 9 and bring them back. We will do that as expeditiously as we can, and when we're done, we will provide that information.
Stephen Hogan, Candia, not supplemental. I have a question for Governor Ferguson. Governor, you talked about attending a visual last night, a couple hundred people, also first responders there as well. What are some of the stories that you took away from the community members from talking?
Oh, so the question for folks here is about the vigil last night. Kind of what was my takeaway from that, from conversations? I think what I would say is, and many folks here were obviously there last night, is the scale and scope of the tragedy. You know, I think I mentioned, you know, this is certainly to be the deadliest industrial tragedy in modern state history. You know, anytime you're talking about something of that scale and scope, the impacts are profound. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who I work with who have some connection to somebody who lost their life here. And obviously for folks who live here and this is their home, it's, you know, at a moment like that, it's hard to capture the emotions which are, you know, which run pretty deep. That said, I felt what I referred to earlier, a resiliency there, of folks coming together, regardless of background differences, you know. That was certainly something I heard from just about everybody I spoke to is that sentiment as well. So I think that's the best I can to put that into words for that question. Thank you.
All right.
Joey Vodka with Point 6. You mentioned the break room, you mentioned a shift change. Are you able to give more context as to where the people that are still unaccounted for were in relation to the tank when it ruptured? And also, was this captured on any on-site surveillance camera? And if so, will that be released at any point?
Question is in relation to the identification of a break room and the maintenance area and the staff area, where were the folks there and in relation to the blast. That is information that has been collected and is part of our amassing our plan. It is one that still is developing. Some of our information has come from some of the co-workers that have been transported, but that is, again, the natural workspace for these staff, and that's where they were at that shift time. And I'm sorry, what was the second part?
Was this captured on any on-site surveillance, and will that be released?
Thank you, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
No, there was no, the complex has a very robust video system, but this was not captured as we are aware of on any recorded video information at this time. Okay.
Hi, Joe Solomon with the Seattle Times. A two-part question. Number one, to clarify, the 9 unaccounted for, do you know their locations in the site, and what additional equipment will you need to go retrieve them? The second part of the question is, I know there was some talk last night about some PPE that failed on your officers or was damaged as they were coming out. We also heard reports that a hospital may have gotten contaminated by the waste because they weren't prepared for cover. The PPE you have, was it up to the job for an accident or just tank?
So that's a two-part question. I'll take the first part. Matt, take the PPE part. We do not know where all 9 are. Through accountability with the Nippon staff, we know 9 individuals are missing. We have searched the area that is searchable. We do not have the ability to state that we have located all 9, nor the ability to state where those 9 were, as I had in one of my prior questions. Information that we still work through. So Matt?
Yeah, as far as regarding PPE, our initial responders in the structural firefighting gear that we wear, the only issues that we experienced was some damage to our boots. We have impacts to our firefighting equipment, but we have local resources that are actually coming to our sites, to our fire departments, to collect those sets of PPE to be either decontaminated after we decontaminated them on site as best we could, and they will do professional testing and inspections on those to see if they meet the needs. But we've also been working with our local vendors to replenish those supplies. So as far as catastrophic failures, we haven't had any catastrophic failures of our equipment, just normal impacts we would have to our lower protective equipment for hazardous materials. It's okay for us to do some rescue operations in them. And then when we transition to our recovery and our hazmat entries, we have the equipment, our Class B suits and SCBAs that we feel appropriate to enter that scene to at least do reconnaissance missions. But we do run into some industrial hazards that for any level of equipment wouldn't be safe for us to continue.
Okay. I want to state last question. I think I haven't touched base with you yet a couple of days, so I'll go with you.
I know there's still 9 people injured. Can you give us a range of the injuries from the blast in relation? And then we know what was happening at the time. We mentioned a shift change. Was that maintenance being done, a normal startup? What was happening? First, tell us what was.
So the questions were two-part. A more detailed information about the injuries, and then more detailed information about the activities at that time, 7:15 in the morning. No, we do not. That's information that we don't have. We have, as we identified previously, Dana Tucker and the folks from the coroner's office and the hospitals are supporting operations there with law enforcement. It is not something that we have as far as the extent of the injuries. As far as the operations there, I think what we outlined earlier, as in the members going about their traditional exchange of information, exchange of shift duties and their regular duties, is what was occurring. We don't have any additional details at this time. So I want to articulate my appreciation. I want to you all for your asking of questions as well as your support of sharing joint information. The Joint Information Center has been established. That information was provided. I'm going to outline that a means of submitting that information is available to all. Send your email inquiries to the abbreviation JIC for Joint Information Center at ECY for ecology jic@ecY.gov. So that was jic@ecY.wa.gov. We do not have a established time for the next cycle of information. The JIC will provide that out to you. I appreciate your time. Let us now return to our teams that have continued to work so we can support them, support our operations. No.
The local press didn't get a shot.
I understand the question. I'll repeat it, and then I will say we do not know. Description of the age of the tank and the valves. That is something that we do not know, and it is something that some of our team have asked, as well as the director said, Labor and Industries will look at in the root cause. Okay? Thank you. Bear with me. Andres, I'll be with you in just a second. Thank you all.
Producer went World News tonight and we're here. We couldn't have a time to do it.